Okay, honors geometry students, we are starting part 6 of your summer packet, word problems. Whenever you're doing a word problem, the goal of the word problem is to simply take the words that are written in sentences and translate them into an equation that you can then solve. So let's start with a simple example. A number is tripled and then decreased by 10. If the result is 21, what is the number? So if we start at the beginning, we have a number. I don't know what this number is. I will call this number n. That number is tripled. Tripled implies that we multiply that number by 3. And then that number is decreased by 10. Decreased implies that we subtract. The result of that, so after we do this whole operation, we get 21. So this 3n minus 10 has to equal 21. What is the number? Now that I have written this equation, I can solve it using my basic solving properties. I'll add 10 to both sides. Then divide both sides by 3. So I have n equals 31 over 3. And your first instinct might be to think that your answer is incorrect because you have a decimal or you have a fraction. And that is not the case. 31 over 3 is the correct answer. You want to leave it as 31 over 3. You don't want to put it in your calculator and get a decimal approximation. Don't waste your time turning it into a mixed number. Let's do another one. Carrie is 9 years older than Dan. In 7 years, the sum of their ages will equal 93. Find both of their ages now. So again, it's helpful to try to create equations out of your sentences. For example, Carrie is 9 years older than Dan. We'll say Carrie is C. So Carrie is implies your equals, 9 years older than Dan, or Dan plus 9. In 7 years, the sum of their ages will be 93. Which means that I can create a second equation by saying 93 equals the sum of their ages 7 years from now. So 7 years from now, Carrie will be 7 years older, and Dan will also be older. And we can simplify this equation a little bit. 93 equals C plus D plus 14. And now I can apply a system. I can do substitution or elimination. Since it's already set up as an elimination problem, or it's already set up as a substitution problem because C is by itself. So I'll do that. I'll take the D plus 9 and I will plug it in for C. So I have 93 equals D plus 9 plus D plus 14. Let's simplify a little bit. 93 equals 2D plus 23. And then I will subtract 23 from both ends. And that would be 70 equals 2D. When I divide both sides by 2, I end up with 35. So that means Dan would have to be 35. Since Carrie is 9 years older than Dan, Carrie would have to be 35 plus 9. So Carrie would have to be 44. And we know that these two are 9 years apart. But we can always check ourselves. The beauty of these word problems, it's very simple to figure out if you're correct. Let's figure out how old each one of them will be 7 years from now. So if I take 35 plus 7, I get 42. So Dan will be 42 in 7 years. And now if I take 44 and add on 7, 44 plus 7 is 51. And that would be Carrie's age 7 years from now. And if you look at that, I add these two up, I get 93. So 35 and 44 are your correct answers. Let's do one that's a very common geometry problem. The perimeter of a rectangle is 46, and the length is 3 more than the width. What are the dimensions of the rectangle? Well, first we have to remember what a perimeter is. Perimeter is just the distance all around the edges. It's when you add up all the sides. Let's draw a rectangle. Not the best rectangle in the universe, but that's okay. The perimeter here is 46. And I know the length is 3 more than the width. And technically, it doesn't really matter which one is the length and which one is the width. So if I say that this is the width and this is the length is 3 more than the width. The length is the width plus 3. I tend to write my L's as cursive letters so they don't look like ones. So if this is W, then this guy has to be W plus 3. When you're doing perimeter, you have to add up all of the sides. So if this is W, this is a rectangle, the opposite sides in a rectangle are always equal. And so if this is W plus 3, the opposite side also has to be W plus 3. So if I add up all 4 of these, I have W plus W plus 3 plus W plus W plus 3. Add that up, I have 4W plus 6, and that has to equal 46. If I solve this equation, I can figure out what the width is. So 4W equals 40, which means that W equals 10. So if the width is 10, the length is 3 more than the width. So the length would have to be 13. And you can always check yourself. 10 plus 13 plus 10 plus 13 is in fact 46. This concludes our word problem video. Go ahead and try the word problems that are in your practice packet.